the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, has called for the firing of Walt Disney Company CEO Bob Iger. There's a lot of drama going on, and we're going to talk about that here on That Park Place. Earlier today, while we were hosting a live stream, Elon Musk was going insane on Twitter. Of course, the question is, was he insane or was he the only sane man? Bob Iger made some comments against X as a platform, and Elon Musk, who is the chief technical officer and, of course, the majority owner of Twitter, also known as X, he's been tweeting all day about everything wrong with what Bob Iger said about him at the New York Times DealBook Summit. We've been analyzing Bob Iger's comments elsewhere on the channel, and there'll be more about that coming soon. But in the meantime, I wanted to show you all this interaction specifically. More detail on that later. Bob Iger thinks it's cool to advertise next to child material. Real stand-up guy. As you can see, the text is a little bit different than what I'm reading. This user, ChessChick01, what a platform, says, why hasn't Disney fired that guy yet? Elon Musk then tweeted at 10:40 a.m. Eastern time today, he should be fired immediately. Walt Disney is turning in his grave over what Bob has done to his company. If you'd like to see the lead up that culminated in this tweet, here we go. Let's get into the big news of the day, and that is Elon Musk has no chill whatsoever.
No, not at all. Oh, man.
Just like every day of the week, as it seems. Elon Musk blasts Bob Iger and the Walt Disney Company for advertising on Facebook and Instagram next to child taking advantage material. This one by John F. Trent. I'm apprehensive to say that word on the stream because I think that'll put us in a different area.
I agree.
But, I understand.
Yeah, but you can all see it, and probably the artificial intelligence.
You got to get creative.
We can cover his exploits, however.
Yes, that's true. The exploits here are easy to cover. Although I wouldn't be shocked to know that YouTube has some kind of artificial intelligence scanning the screens for text that appears. So Elon Musk put the Walt Disney Company and Bob Iger on blast for advertising on Facebook and Instagram next to that kind of material. So, by the way, did I mention that this was by John F. Trent, who we are glad to be in his presence today. Musk made it a point to target Bob Iger and Disney after the company choose to engage in a boycott against Musk and his social media platform X, which I still call Twitter. Iger explained his reasonings for boycotting X during an appearance at the New York Times DealBook last week. He said, by Elon Musk taking the position he took in quite a public manner, we just felt that the association with that position in Elon Musk and X was not necessarily a positive one, and we decided we would pull our advertising. That kind of line there is consistent with the way that Bob Iger has referred to X in the past. Does anyone want to offer any history on?
Could we mention that they don't think it's positive to advertise, but they think it's just fine to keep all their accounts still up, spreading information by X?
Yes, that's a very
funny how that works.
Well,
you know?
not only that, Lou, but you also got the accounts of everybody who essentially shills, but reports on the mouse too. Some notable names that are invited to these theme park events or these studio events that the company has no problem with engaging on Twitter, celebrating the name of Walt Disney.
Yeah, I'll also add that I'm fairly certain at this point that Disney has organizational level Twitter badges.
They have the gold
badges.
Ones.
Yeah, the gold ones, which are minimum $1,000 a month. So I'm not saying that matches up to advertising spend. It does come with some level of advertising spend.
Well, wait. If we could get the auditor guys at the former Reedy Creek to look into it, they could see whether Disney puts that in their reports as advertising or as some other category of expense.
That's a very good point.
I think that's the antithesis of that, Lou. Come on now.
Yes.
I do also think that in order for your organization, I think it's to be considered an organization, it's also even more expensive. So they haven't quite left. And let's continue on because I think there's some...
I do just want to go back to what Lou was saying there about you see Iger here saying it's not necessarily a positive one, but then he goes on and says we're still using X with ABC News and obviously the Walt Disney Company and Walt Disney Studios and all their other various platforms. So he's trying to say that he's taking a moral position, but then he completely contradicts himself by saying we're still on the platform. So it's well, what are you even talking about? You just sound like an idiot.
At what point does this become a lack of virtue signal?
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh,
Exactly.
I think as we continue on to Elon's tweets, we'll see some of that lack of virtue. And the great thing about having someone like Elon Musk, who, for all intents and purposes, cannot be bought, discussing this, he can be as fiery as he wants to be, and he doesn't have to answer to a boss tomorrow. He is very much uncancelable. There are other ways to describe that, but I'm going to say uncancelable. He has that kind of money.
It's one thing to have FU money. It's another thing to use it to say FU.
Yeah. I don't think he left a lot of question as to his opinion of Bob and
Yep.
and others.
So for those of you who aren't aware of the DealBook Summit, which I'm pretty sure this audience is, but we'll say it for the sake of completeness, Musk called out Bob Iger and other CEOs and companies that chose to boycott the social media platform during his own appearance at the New York Times DealBook Summit, which was after Iger and was about twice as long. I think that was quite the stage that Andrew Sorkin gave him, and he said, "I hope they stop. Don't advertise." Musk elaborated, "If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, I'm going to paraphrase here, go forth and love thyself. Is that clear? Go forth and love thyself. I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience, that's how I feel. Don't advertise." Oh, my. That's a very intense statement that he made there. So the thing that we're talking about today, because Elon Musk has been continuing on with this right here. So then why is Disney boycotting X yet spending millions on other platforms? Here's a nice chart here, right here. There's a big TikTok area right there, a small amount on Instagram, and an even smaller amount on X.
Refresh me. What country does TikTok originate in?
Yeah, TikTok is owned by ByteDance, which is, as all companies in China are, owned by a pretty significant percentage by the Chinese government or the Chinese Communist Party, which is the Chinese government.
The same people who run the summer camp next door to Hong Kong Disneyland?
Yeah, the summer camp that you don't...
It's Stalag TikTok?
Same people that the Walt Disney Company thanked in their Mulan movie.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that is of course a different camping expedition, and we're being light with this, even though it's my child asked me last night, what does atrocious mean? Because we were talking about Mary Poppins, and I had to explain that the word, it's based in the word atrocity, which when it's talking conversationally, you might say something is just horrible. But in the case of atrocity, it means a very specific thing, and you wouldn't want your camp to be considered atrocious to human rights. I'm being vague,
even
guys,
though the
but,
government running it is something quite precocious. If you say it loud enough, you'll always sound expialidocious.
So yes, TikTok is run by China, and it is actually, for those of you who aren't aware, there is a Chinese version of TikTok that is all like educational videos, and children aren't allowed to get on it. And there's a Face ID function that will look to make sure that a child is not seeing that kind of content, and will have limits on it. Their own version of TikTok is a different name, a different platform, and it has controls on it. But the one that they sell to Americans is basically a distraction and an ADHD machine. It is an addiction machine, and there are people like Haya Reichik and maybe the Babylon Bee that get a lot of interesting material that might be aimed at children exposed from TikTok. So,
and just to get a little serious for a moment, and not political, but recently it has been shown that a lot of these college students who are protesting on behalf of Hamas learned their politics about the Middle East from TikTok.
Yes, that's very good that you bring that up, because we'll touch this very lightly, but it needs to be said, but we'll need to move on from it, because it's very important in the conversation about what Elon Musk is saying here about TikTok versus Twitter. There was a letter.
Interestingly, a former Disney executive named Zanaya Mucha joined TikTok as the chief branded communications officer back in June of this year.
That's
Xenia.
really
Yeah,
Very
that's
interesting. Very interesting, huh?
she's
she got-
terrible.
Also, Iger evangelized about its use of TikTok via ESPN. What, the 37 million viewers or whatever during the last earnings call. So Disney has they're not scared of getting in bed with TikTok here.
Yep, I would totally agree with that. So there was a letter that was written by someone that also did something atrocious in the United States around 2001. That was circulated, and a bunch of young people.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
We're not aware of this guy who lived in he wasn't the one in the spider hole at the end, but there was a around Zero Dark 30. We caught up with him, anyways. Again, being vague here, you guys can pick up on what I'm saying. He wrote a letter that was trying to point out all the hypocrisy of the United States, and that one got a lot of traction from young people who don't know any better on TikTok. And ByteDance reluctantly said that they were going to block that particular meme, probably after U.S. regulators started cracking down on it. By the way, TikTok banned in Montana. There's currently a Supreme Court injunction against that. So there's also security issues with TikTok. So
yes, enormous ones.
I think the federal government employees are banned from using it.
Yes, as well as many state governments.
And let's not forget that it's not just them. I mean, Facebook has their own problems. The state of New Mexico is suing them today. So yeah,
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're getting closer to today. Yep. So South Carolina dumped Disney after it engages in advertising boycott against Elon Musk and the social media platform X. The South Carolina treasurer, Curtis Loftus, said that they are abdicating their fiduciary duty by refusing to advertise on X, which is one of the most important social media platforms out there. John, do you have any comment on that before we go back to the tweets from Elon?
Yeah, if you scroll down a little bit more, we get some comments from Loftus, and he explains that he was disgusted by he literally explains the reason why he's having the state drop or not recommend the Walt Disney Company anymore is because of Bob Iger's comments at the DealBook Summit and the fact that he is engaging in a boycott against the social media platform. He says right here, Disney has abandoned its fiduciary, like I guess you just kind of said that, but Disney has abandoned its fiduciary responsibilities to its investors and customers by joining far-left activists in boycotting legal, tax-paying, employment, creating corporations to further Disney's political agenda. I think it's really interesting now that we're seeing state governments and state government officials are kind of saying things we've been talking about for years.
Let's translate that into plain old English. What he's saying is their job is to make money. If the state is going to, for example, have some of their stock in their pension plans, or if they're going to recommend them to businesses, they have to know that they're actually doing their job of trying to make money. And he's saying that by not advertising on the biggest reach possible, they are denying that function and instead imposing their political views.
Yeah, just as an example, we've seen Nelson Peltz kind of explain one of the things that he's done when he's gone into previous companies, like specifically I think it was like Heinz ketchup company. He was talking about how they were struggling to basically get people to buy more Heinz because people had a Heinz bottle, they were just leaving it in their cupboard or whatever. And he decided to, I think, double the advertising revenue or the advertising spend for Heinz, and it increased their sales like tenfold or something like that. So advertising spend definitely can increase sales. So
that's what it's for. That's what it's for.
A little bit of background context as well. Remember, Disney has a presence in South Carolina right now with one of their resorts, the Disney's Hilton Head Island Resort DVC location. So they are, they have a presence there. They are invested there. It's quite startling to see South Carolina kind of pull away from them in this manner with that background context.
That's a very good point. I think that's DVC location, right, on Hilton Head?
Yes,
that is correct.
So back to the statements about Elon Musk.
Can we just go back one sec? Because I think his other comment here is really interesting. This one right Bob Iger's, Bob Iger's always talking about how the state of Florida retaliated against them and they're suppressing their free speech. Well, his words are being turned against him here because Mr. Loftus says multi-billion-dollar corporations should not engage in boycotts designed to silence legitimate debate. Since America's founding, freedom of speech has been one of its core principles, and Disney should not engage in nefarious practices aimed at silencing those with less power and money. So I just found that quite ironic that Iger's been going around talking about how the state of Florida is supposedly retaliating against the Walt Disney Company and basically breaking their First Amendment rights. And now South Carolina is saying, no, you're actually doing that.
It's truly amazing and hypocritical on the part of Bob Iger. Not that we would ever expect Bob Iger to say one thing when something else is the truth. Of course. So back to Elon here. Scott Adams, notorious Twitterer, says, does Bob Iger know Disney is no longer making relevant products and their theme parks have all the fun of a contentious area during wartime? And Musk responded, Disney has a major content problem. Almost their entire upcoming slate is unwatchable. Oof. They are the world's biggest example of go woke, go broke. I don't know why he said upcoming slate. If you look at the previous year here, it's been bomb years. After bomb.
Half a decade.
Yeah, I mean,
I hate to say it, but Elon has information that we don't have. Maybe he's seen a preview of the new Planet of the Apes and Deadpool movies. Maybe he knows something we don't.
When you're taking a $2 billion write-off on your Disney Plus products, I mean, what does that say?
I could $1 billion lost in November.
I could make him wait until the end of this segment, but I know he's got insightful things to throw in here. My great compatriot and business partner here, WDW Pro is joining us.
Who let him in?
Before you move on, just look at that chart there. That's a Google Trends chart, and it's for people, if you scroll up there, it's for people typing in cancel Hulu and cancel Disney Plus, and you can see how after the kind of DealBook summit, it massively spiked there for both of them. So people were indeed canceling those subscriptions after Elon Musk's comments and Bob Iger's comments.
I'm getting a lot of cancellation comments on our videos about Hulu right now, too.
There is this wonderful phrase, the straw that broke the camel's back. Disney seems to come up with a new straw every time you turn around. You never know which act that they perform is going to be the one that turns people off and says, sorry, no more. But the hits just keep on happening, don't they?
There was
the bingo card I had did not include potential commodities fraud up until this past week. I mean, it's impressive how much they keep coming up with.
Pro, I think that's not true. I think you knew that particular crime was probably actually going to come up. Yeah.
There was a prominent screenshot posted of people canceling their Disney Plus subscriptions, and the reason cited was FY. Hi, Bob.
Go fund yourself, Vash. Go fund yourself.
Yeah, I had a joke that I didn't have time to do correctly. It was how to block inappropriate content for your children on Disney Plus now that Hulu has been added in. And it was basically, I'll just spoil the joke. It was me going to the cancellation page on Disney Plus. So, Pro, do you have any comments on this one? Bob Iger thinks it's cool to advertise next to child's
way to bring up something that's difficult to talk about and then hand it to me. Happily so, Jonas. Happily so.
This is why you get the big bucks.
That's right.
So let me tiptoe through the tulips here and
let's see what word you come up with
first.
Where's my ukulele? I could accompany that.
We're not going into falsetto though, although perhaps that's what Disney likes.
Certainly the false part they like.
That's right. What I would say here is that when Bob Iger said that he was going to lower the noise, apparently what he meant was he was going to take that volume knob and twist it so that it went all the way back around to max and then broke it off of the unit. Because just when you thought that the amount of damage that had been done to the Walt Disney World Resort via getting involved in that legislative process in Florida in regards to when state education curriculum for children regarding bedroom issues should occur, that potentially being $1 trillion penalty that Disney will suffer over the next however long they own Disney World, that according to Andrew of Legal Mindset, just when you thought that was sufficient, then they got right back into this issue, exiting the culture war or exiting Twitter by entering the culture war. So they exited Twitter with a declaration from Bob Iger that was because Elon Musk is problematic. And of course, that has brought the richest man in the world his ire upon them. And now he is with a far greater magnifying glass than we ever could use, he is now exposing their hypocrisy and the evil of the company. And yes, I'm saying the evil of the company, because they would never, ever, ever, never shall we say ever, never hyphen ever, ever, never exit TikTok, nor would they exit any of these other social platforms, despite the fact that we all know those are far greater in connection to the things that Disney suggested they didn't like. The real reason that they got off Twitter, in my estimation, is that they want to control the corporate narrative, just the same way as we exposed this morning in regards to the giant virtue signal that is their solar farms, which apparently don't do what Disney suggested that they did. Yet again, folks,
and we're going to talk about that more. We're going to talk about that more when we get to the Breaking Bob segment, too. So stay tuned, Bob.
The big thing about this is, how stupid can you be to think if I pull my advertising off, it'll actually hurt this guy? I mean, really, it's just the astounding ignorance of it. I've never said he was stupid. I've said he's vain and a lot of other things. But I'll show him. I'll pull my ads off of Twitter. Yeah, well, as I said on one of the other channels, I think at one time, I said, if your claim to fame is you've got a ride that simulates going to Mars, don't fight with the guy who's actually going.
It's a very good point.
The impressive thing here is that there were many companies, Lou, many companies that decided to boycott. Disney is the only one that had the sheer audacity and stupidity of their CEO to stand up and crow about it directly before said richest man in the world took the stage directly behind him.
Yeah, that's he sure knew who was next on the agenda, didn't he?
And on top of all that, of course, why is there not somebody with Bob Iger saying, listen, the way that he is going to respond will be the same way as our main character in Marvel. So however you think that Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr., would respond to you, that's what's going to happen. So maybe not let's do this, lest he say go fund yourself to the world.
That's a fascinating statement, because somehow Elon Musk has become a populist billionaire, which is a bit of a contradiction to so many people. I'm not saying everybody likes Elon Musk. He has problems, in the same way that people say, why would anyone hate Tony Stark? Look at all the things he does. You look at Elon Musk, and you can understand why there might be a segment of the population that would not be a fan of somebody like
I
Tony
personally
Stark.
am exceedingly happy to receive my Tesla Iron Man suit in the future. Bring it on.
All right. Let's
Except
keep
you have
going
to
with the
recharge it every 200 miles.
And the recharge goes straight into your heart. But other than that, it's all a good deal.
So on that same tweet, which we displayed before, Elon Musk says, why no advertiser boycott Bob Iger? And he intentionally misspells his name.
I love that he's done that a couple times.
Material. Yeah. And of course, this article from the Babylon Bee says Disney awarded defense contract after producing more bombs than Lockheed Martin.
Oh, man.
And they're more explosive and they work better too, probably. But
where is all this being aggregated? How are you pulling all of this stuff?
This is all being aggregated on that place by our great editor-in-chief, John F. Trent.
I knew this looked like expertise that you would not usually find on the internet. Great job, John.
Yeah, when we started talking about how we needed to consolidate these for the show, John was already like, "No, there'll be an article up very, very soon." So, another one here.
Incredible.
This is within the last 2 hours. Crazy that Disney has to be sued to stop this terrible behavior. New Mexico has sued Meta and Mark Zuckerberg for allegedly enabling child endangerment material to be distributed. Hey, Bob Iger and other advertisers, will you be suspending advertising on Facebook and Instagram like you did with X? Disney is currently running about 300 ads for, and I'm assuming this is for Facebook and other Meta products, which owned by Meta is the company that owns Facebook now.
It's interesting. We know that Elon takes a particular interest in these things specifically because of his dealings with his own children. But I wonder if this goes even beyond that. I wonder if Elon was a fan of Disney at some point, on some level, showing their products to his kids. Now he's seen the decline of this company for himself, and now this company's attacking him. And he's kind of this is an outgrowth of those frustrations boiling over.
In other words, like all of us, he's not against them because he's against them. He's against them because they've ruined something he treasures. When people accuse us all of being, you're so negative about them. by God, I grew up at Disneyland and I loved it and I have art from it and I am a fan, and they ruined it.
That's right.
And shame on them.
I have a 4 a.m. fast pass for Big Thunder Mountain Railroad framed in the studio is how much I like what this company once was and what it stood for. And I was willing to be there at 4 a.m. To ride that. But as you guys covered earlier, this is spilling out into other areas. When you have entire states now dropping Disney and investing in Disney, this has now metastasized outside the boundaries of just Elon Musk. But that he was the impetus for it, and perhaps the originating impetus is Bob Iger himself. It's Bob Impetus. And the impetus is the destruction of Disney.
Well, let's not go too far with what that impetus has caused at the Walt Disney Company. I do want to put a cap on this with an excellent super chat from Is This Live for $5 Canadian. You just have to say it like a Beach Boys song. Disney likes child, child, child. That's about as close as I'm going to get there. Thank you very much. Obviously, this is a developing story, and Elon Musk is the world's richest man. So if he decides, as I've suggested on Twitter, to throw a few $1 billion towards Disney stock, he could really ruin Bob Iger's day right now. I don't know the deadline he would need in order to be able to participate in voting for anyone on a proxy fight, but the annual shareholders meeting isn't until March. And as people speculate on the value of stocks that are highly contested amongst billionaires, he could make a quick buck just by buying shares and then having a lot of drama and then exiting the market. We'll examine that more here on That Park Place. You might want to stay tuned to Valiant Renegade. And of course, we'll be talking about this later today on The Pro Show. If you're watching this on Thursday, December 7th, that's happening at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you like this video, consider subscribing and stay tuned to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.